My name is Jessica Still, and I'm going to be teaching you a step-by-step process on herbal infusion. To begin, would you believe me if I told you that most of you have safe herbal medicine growing in your backyard right now? I'm sure many of you are familiar with some common wild plant names like Queen Anne's lace, also known as wild carrot, plantain, and most widely known, the dandelion. Well, did you also know that these are commonly referred to as weeds or pest plants and don't get credit for their amazing healing properties that they all have? For instance, take the dandelion. All parts can be harvested, including the roots and the leaves, and used for liver regeneration, diabetes support, fighting urinary tract infections, and also used as an energizer and memory enhancer. Scientists have found that after 48 hours of exposure to dandelion extract, cancer cells began to diminish, and the cells that were resistant to chemotherapy eventually started to diminish as well. This was published in the journal Evidence-Based Complementary and Alternative Medicine. So I'm going to be walking you through a step-by-step on how to make an herbal infusion. First, an herbal infusion is a herb or plant of your choice or multiples that are infused with a carrier oil and are used for medicine alternatives. So you'll pick your choice of herb, and depending on how you want to use this herb, infusing it with the carrier oil for 4 to 6 weeks and letting the healing properties absorb into the oil. I recommend doing thorough research on whatever herb you plan to use because some of them can be dangerous, especially if you are especially to pregnant women or women that are nursing. So yeah, just always research what you are going to be using. Okay, so today I want to focus on an herb that I hadn't mentioned already. It's calendula, or also known as marigold. It has very beneficial healing properties, such as healing minor cuts, wounds, bug bites, scrapes, rashes, and it's antibacterial and helpful in the treatment of gingivitis. All right, so before we begin, I want to go through a list of the supplies that we're going to need, to complete the infusion. Okay, my screen is going out. First, you're going to need 2 clean mason jars that are dry. You're also going to need cheesecloth, which is just a very loose, flimsy cloth that you use for a strainer to strain the oil. And then your herb of choice, which we're going to use calendula, like this. And then your carrier oil, which I always like to use olive oil because it works for most skin types and doesn't have any like nut extract in it. So if you're allergic to like almonds or nuts or anything, you can get a rash from that. So I just like to use olive oil and always use it organic. Okay. And after locating all of your materials, then you can begin the step-by-step process. So depending on the herb that you choose and what part of the herb has to be used. So if you're using calendula, this is the flower petals. So it's going to be different. Some herbs you use the stem, the leaves, whatever. So depending on that, you're either just going to cut it, cut off the area you need. You can just put the whole thing in there. But you're going to want to take the herbs, and you can also grind them up depending on what type of herb you're using. But you're just going to put those in there. This did not just happen. Okay, it's still recording it. Completely went out again. Okay, so depending on the herb, you're gonna either cut, grind, just fill the jar whole, and leave at least, usually when I'm doing this, I put it to about here and leave an inch room under the neck. And so then I'm gonna fill that with my oil and fill it about an inch above. I usually fill it to the neckline. Here's one that I had started before, but I've already used some out of it. So this one, at that stage that I was just talking about, would have been full to here of the oil, but I've already strained some of it. So this is like an in-between process. And so whenever you fill it up with the oil, you're gonna make sure that you shake it really good and just get it all mixed around. And then you're gonna take it and set it outside for 4 to 6 weeks. Just kind of depends. Some herbs should be infused in the sun. Some can just be sat in your windowsill. Just like I said, depending, you need to do some research. Yeah, and you're going to make sure that every single day you go out and you shake that up and then leave it there. So after 4 to 6 weeks, then you're going to take your cheesecloth and I just place it over the top like this. Just pull it really tight, and it kind of opens up that little stitching, and it makes it a good cloth for straining and not letting the herbs like dump into the other bottle, because you're going to want to have another jar, and that's what's in this. This is actually a calendula infusion I did before, but so I would take this and I would have this one open and hang it over top of it and just strain that into there. And that way you don't have any of the herbs in it, but if you do get a little bit in there, it's not bad. It's not going to ruin it. All right, and then once you strain everything into jar 2, I just put it in a cool, dry place and store it. Just always make sure that you label it. You don't want to get, all these oils are going to look the same because they're using the same carrier oil, so you're not going to want to think you're using one thing if you do this a lot and you have other jars laying around, so just always label it. Okay. And then once it's in the storage step, you can use the oil directly on your skin, or you can mix it with other ingredients and make different herbal products or like beauty products. These oils are really great for moisturizing skin, so you can use them if you make lotions or anything like that. It's also really great like for dry skin, so it's good to use. All right. And to me, there's no better feeling than knowing I created my own safe, natural products start to finish, and knowing the earth provided these natural remedies for the most common ailments and that they can be found all around us. So now that I've given you this information, you can take it with you and decide, if you want to make a full-on change to an all-natural life. This is just an outlet for that. Or if you just want to do, some natural remedies, then I leave that up to you. But not only is this oil useful on its own, you can also use it to make ointments for many different issues, and usually will have a longer shelf life than your average over-the-counter ointment that you use. Yeah, and so that concludes on how to make an herbal infusion. Thank you guys for sitting here. This was my first speech. Okay. Alrighty. Thanks, guys.